Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I'm Todd. Glad to have you guys with us. We're going to rock and roll this one.
Yeah, this one we're going to be talking about a lot of emotional things that guys don't like to normally talk about.
Well, we can talk about
feelings.
Well, we can talk about anger and frustration and shit like that. It'd be easy.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny is I brought this idea for a topic up last night. And
Right.
today's 9/11. And so I thought,
Oh, shit.
what a more emotional day than 9/11 to talk about stuff. You know, it hit me today talking. I was like, on the way home, I was like, oh shit, we're talking about emotions today on the podcast. Today's a pretty emotional day for a lot of people.
Right.
Well, most Americans.
And when you brought this topic up to me, I was actually watching a television show that I don't normally watch because I hate a lot of reality television.
Yeah.
And I had given you this person's show as an example of something I think is trash.
Right.
Just I cannot stand to even
We can bring
think.
it up. Can we say the name? It's a great show. I love it.
Well, yeah, we can. I'm not trying to avoid the name.
It's Jeff Lewis.
Jeff Lewis.
Jeff Lewis on
what is it? Interior
Therapy.
Interior Therapy with Jeff Lewis.
On Bravo.
Right?
Great show.
I don't really endorse a lot of Bravo shows, but I was watching it. My wife was watching it, so I'm going to blame her for sucking me into it. And I've been telling Todd for a while now that the whole reason why we have Primal Scream, it's this title of the podcast has evolved. It went from just two guys, which is funny because just last night when I was listening to this podcast roundtable, and they were talking about their frustrations, their pet peeves.
Yeah.
One guy was saying, you know what I hate? I hate looking up podcasts, and there's just a million of them that are saying, just two guys talking about sports.
Oh,
just two
really?
guys doing this. Just two guys doing that. And
Thank
I thought,
God we changed
my
that.
God.
That's awesome.
I didn't realize how popular that fucking title is.
I guess so.
But anyway, we started out with just two guys because there's just two of us, right? So we went with that. We thought, it's simple. We'll go with that. And then we evolved to down the rabbit hole because every time Todd and I talk, it
goes somewhere.
Yeah, we end up going somewhere. We're like, oh my God, I can't. How did we get here again?
What were we first talking about?
That's so
we're talking about
odd.
kittens, and now we're talking about something.
Dinosaurs raping.
Anal fisting or something. It's terrible.
Why did both of us go right to hardcore, pornographic images in our head popped right in there? And then the more we talked about things on these recordings, when we were just practicing these recordings, which we need a lot more practice. But anyway, when we were first practicing these, we started evolving this idea and we started talking about why are we doing this stuff? And Matt's contention, is that we as a society hold back a lot of things. We fight our normal primal urges.
Our emotions. We try to always contain our emotions, which to me is part of an evolved animal. But
right. You like to say, I'm a higher level, I'm more evolved.
That's just me. I would hope
all
human beings.
No. You like to use that term, though. I'm a more civilized human being. That's why I don't act.
But I also don't feel that you should contain all your emotions to the point where you want to go kill somebody. So I think the Primal Scream is an aspect of that it's important to have.
And we were talking about how in today's day and age, so many of us either live in a city or we live in a heavily populated town.
Right.
And there's not a lot of free space to just get out in the wilderness and do things that back in the 70s, a therapist came up with a term called primal therapy, where he would try to help people bring back issues. What was it?
It was
their trauma. They were trying to
trauma in their life.
Yeah, they were
go
trying
back
to bring
and
back
kind of relive it and deal with it. And yeah, I hate you, Dad. You son of a bitch. Yeah. Okay.
And then he came up with this primal screaming type thing where he would have people, just scream, get out all these emotions that were bottled up inside them. And that's kind of what we were talking about. That there's no place for us to ever let loose. There's no place for us to ever be truly what we were designed to do animalistically. You know, I'm a man. I'm designed, well, I'm not homosexual. I'm a heterosexual male. I feel like I am designed by whoever created us, whatever created us, to want to procreate, to want to have sex with the female form. And I really appreciate the female form. You know, that's what I think is genetically encoded into my every cell, my DNA strand.
Right.
So,
but let me make the point though. But you don't follow those impulses all the time. You may mentally follow them, but you don't like, oh God, that girl just walked by and she's like awesome ass.
No,
oh my God,
I don't act
I'm going to
out.
follow her and grab it and squeeze it.
Yeah, I'm not a caveman.
You're not.
So when we talk about primal scream, we're not talking about being stupid. We're not talking about being a caveman, but we are talking about be aware of how much you're stuffing down inside you, these emotions that you're walking around and you're like, okay, I'm a dad and I'm with my 5-year-old and I can't swear and I gotta, encourage, hey, way to go, Timmy, good job. And I can't look at another woman when my wife's around and I can't appreciate that. And I have to stuff all these primal urges away instead of just accepting it and saying, hey, I'm a dude. I'm a guy. This is how it is. This is how I'm supposed to feel. It's okay to feel this way. I don't have to act out on it.
Right.
Which separates us
absolutely
from animals.
And that's probably what I was trying to say. We separate ourselves that way because we don't follow all those things.
But it's okay to feel that way. I think we shame ourselves into thinking that, oh my God, why am I feeling that way? I shouldn't feel that way. Why do I want to have sex with that woman over there just because she's a fucking 9? Yeah, hello, she's a 9. She's got a great ass, a wonderful body, a face, woohoo, supermodel. Yeah, I should want to have sex with her. I'm not going to follow through with it. I care about my wife's feelings.
Right.
But biologically, I think we're primed to be that way. So that's what this is.
Yeah.
This podcast is about talking about issues, and sometimes it's going to be rough, and sometimes I'm going to give you the hard truth that I think is the hard truth. And some of our stuff is fact-based. We try to back it up with fact, but sometimes it's just opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our opinions, we generate our opinions by the same things you all generate your opinions from, which is the news and the media and YouTube videos, newspapers. I mean, that's how we are influenced throughout the day. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And coworkers and friends and family and stuff like that you interact with. I think they all have an impact on how you think about things.
Right. So we were talking about interior therapy with Jeff Lewis.
Yep.
And so I got hooked. I started watching it. And I told Todd, I'm like, this is just trash. It bothers me so much that these people who are acting horribly to other people are getting paid. They're getting money for the show. They're making money on the show, and they're getting money for acting horribly. And I think this show that aired last night really changed my opinion on him.
On him. Well, I mean,
as a person.
Let's set the preface to this. That's not
what?
the correct word. The preface it?
What? No.
God.
Let me
preface this.
Precedence? Preface?
Who knows?
You were fucking your mouth while you were talking. You need to stop that.
Let me set the precedent by saying that you didn't like him in the beginning because his very first TV show, it was just kind of like raw him and his business and how he ran his business, how he ran his household. And he is kind of douchey on that show. And he can be addicted to people that he works for, and he makes them cry. And he's really, he's got OCD.
I thought it was just drama. I thought it was nothing but drama. But the show last night, I really appreciated because it defined our podcast almost to a T. Because you have to have that, you have to walk that line. You can feel a certain way and you can think a certain way, and it's okay to accept yourself that way. But when you are so brutally honest that it hurts somebody else,
right?
That's when you have to acknowledge it and say, okay, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have crossed that line. I shouldn't have acted out in a certain way.
your opinion and your thoughts might still be the exact same. But it's about deciding if you have some tact or not, so to speak.
Correct. Yeah. If I'm making my wife cry because I'm being brutally honest, maybe you don't need to be fucking brutally honest about whatever subject is making her cry.
I just like the idea of somebody changing. I like that transition. I like the idea of redemption. I think that's why there's certain movies that I really, really love, because the storyline is about redemption. It's about something horrible that happened and somebody came out on the other side a better person or more positive, or didn't let it wreck them completely and ruin their lives. I like the idea that people can change. And I think one of the reasons why I try to have an open mind with people and their behaviors, as much as they piss me off sometimes, is I know who I am. And I know the fucking shit I pulled when I was younger. And I hate that aspect of my life, but I also know that I'm a better person now because I was able to change that part of me.
Right.
But that's also why I try really hard not to judge people. We talked about like the Kardashians. You still don't
I have a really hard time not judging them.
You don't like that show, and I understand why. There's a guy on that show who is, I forget who he is. He's the boyfriend of one of them. I forget the guy's name on the Kardashians, but he's always kind of like a douchey dude, and always, and over the last, I don't know, season or so, he has become a different guy.
Is that the husband?
Oh,
is it the husband of the oldest sister?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yes. I can't remember his name.
I only regurgitated this information because Todd has told me about him before.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of what his name is.
I don't watch that show.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name is. Anyways, he over time has become a different person. Now, whether he's a better person or not, I don't know. But when he talks now, it's not so self-centered and all about me and I'm the shit all the time. And now it's about other things and other people and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, it's good to see somebody change, and I mean, but the reality TV I watch when it comes to Bravo, Kardashians, Jeff Lewis, and then I watch, what's that show, the design show, Project Runway?
Yeah.
It's not on Bravo anymore, but it started there. But those are the ones that I love.
The primary reason why you watched that, or why you started watching that, was Heidi Klum.
Oh, she's not really in it that often.
But that's the primary reason. You did not turn the channel and said, "Oh God, here's some people making clothes. I can't wait to watch this show." Actually,
we can blame my wife, because she's the one who said, "Hey, have you heard about this new show yet?" And I said, "No." And she showed me. I was like, "Is Heidi Klum on it?" She said, yes.
See, exactly.
I would have never known she was on it if she hadn't told me.
I know,
about
but
it.
that was your primary reason for wanting to watch the show in the first place. Was because a really hot woman was on there.
She's still, dude. She is still.
Yeah,
she was on Jimmy Fallon the other night.
Gorgeous.
Holy
beautiful
cow. And she came out and did some little bit, and then she came out in the middle of the stage, did some like little wink side, curtsy like thing. It was some goofy thing with the Roots, and then she went back behind the curtain again. And so it was just some bit in the very beginning of the show, and he's like fanning himself with his paper. He's like, he looks over at whoever the guy is that he's this little sidekick dude over there. He's like, dude, she is just so gorgeous. Holy cow. He's like fanning himself.
Yeah.
And then she came out later on. You're just like, sister. I mean, I'm telling you, 20 years from now, she is still going to look pretty fucking fabulous.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
I have no doubt. There's certain women.
We were talking about the rabbit hole earlier.
Yeah. There's an example of us going down the rabbit hole. We started talking about Jeff Lewis and interior
and reality TV.
Right.
Well, I was telling Matt earlier that there's a guy on that show recently that was just an absolute asshole, and I think is the show.
It was the latest show. It was last night. It was September 10th.
And you were the one that said that you thought it was great because Jeff Lewis is telling him, "I used to be like you."
Yeah, you and I have many of the exact same characteristics. The only difference is I'm older. I've been through this. I have ruined relationships where you maybe haven't yet, but I have ruined those relationships, and I'm able to see that.
Gorgeous, and he was just such a dick. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a show with somebody that dickish right from the start, where I was like going, who? Even I watching a fucking TV show is going, who the fuck do you think you are, dude? Do you have a golden dick? Is it like dipped in
gold?
Gold? And everybody wants to see it and play with it, and they just think you're the king shit. I was like, where does somebody get to be like that? So, I mean, even my wife, she's like, he's got to be an only child. Obviously, a very wealthy family. His parents own a produce company, I think.
I have no idea.
From what I gather from the show. So, really wealthy guy. Probably, my guess, an only child and has everything handed to him. And it goes back to what you've said in past podcasts. I bet you the dude was never checked by fucking anybody. I bet you he was the popular guy, wealthy guy, all through school, had everything he ever needed. People thought he was probably fucking cat's meow with his cars, and his attitude was probably aloof and arrogant like he was in the show, and everything's fucking handed to him. He doesn't have to worry about fucking anybody's feelings or thoughts about anything else other than himself.
Do you think that applies to the majority of the people that have a lot of wealth when it comes to kids that have a lot of wealth?
I don't think so. I've heard of, I guess I shouldn't say lots. I've heard stories of, well, I know personally, I have a friend whose parents are billionaires in California, and he's a pretty good dude. You know, he wasn't in high school. He's a great guy. Wasn't an arrogant prick. He didn't have his parents, he could have any car he wanted to drive to school. And he picked a pretty general car that he could carry his friends around with him. And, you know, we always joked around that, you know, he'd be like, hey, you guys want to go to lunch? Let's check the back of my car and see if we can find some money and cash and stuck in the seats and stuff. And they'd find like $20 bills everywhere. Just this over time and falling
not change.
Yeah.
Not like a quarter or a one.
But I mean, he's a guy who easily could have just sat back on his laurels and just thought, oh, you know, I don't do shit. He really could. But he chose not to do that. And I think his parents instilled in him an idea that you're going to go to college. You know, you may end up in the family business, or you may end up doing something else than you think you would because our family's doing, you know, has a real estate company. Right. But you're going to get an education. You're going to go to school and put the work in. And I think that can be, you know, I think there's other people maybe you can probably swing both ways. I'm sure there's tons of people out there like that, you know, kind of, you have parents who were super poor and they became really wealthy, right? And so they give their kids everything because they never had anything. And those kids kind of struggle. I think you have people that come from nothing and become extremely wealthy and say, guess what? There's no free rides. You need to put in the time and start working to get this stuff done and be a productive part of society, right? And then I think you have people who were born in wealth and said, hey, this is what my family's done. You know, I'm a Rockefeller, so this is what we do. This is how we act. This is what we don't give a shit about anybody else and what their thoughts are. Not that the Rockefellers do that. I'm just using them as a big family name from America. I'm sure there's all...
Because if there's any name that you need to fuck with, it's somebody that has a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I'm sure it runs all ways. I guess I personally know people who are not like that are extremely wealthy. And obviously this dude got checked by Jeff Lewis last night. Take a big, long fucking look in the mirror, dude, because you're going to wreck things if you don't start realizing that you are being a horrible person to the person you're supposed to love and care for the most.
I found that interesting that you told me your lady had never heard that term before.
Which term?
Yeah, that dude needs to get checked.
Oh. I've never heard before you said to me. In the context of nobody's ever checked it, or nobody's ever said, that's inappropriate, stop talking like that. Or don't you talk to me like that, I'm gonna fucking pound your face in. You know, there's somebody saying,
we're not talking about when you check somebody, when you're checking a bully, or when you're checking a macho asshole. We're not talking about physically going up and checking some guy into the wall like you would think about in hockey. We're just talking, check that behavior. If somebody's acting that way, like this guy on Interior Therapy with Jeff Lewis, that guy was acting a certain way until his wife started to stand up for herself. You know, he was like, yeah, they were eating dinner. And he's like, you probably shouldn't be eating that. And she checked him. And it wasn't anything physical. She just checked him with a comment.
It wasn't even shitty.
You know what? Yeah, it wasn't even shitty. You know what? I need to actually gain weight, so I'm going to eat this, and I'm going to enjoy it. Boom. You just checked him. Mm-hmm. And he was stunned. It was almost like somebody jabbed him right in the nose. Pop. Right. And it made his knees wobble.
Eyes water, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
What? Yeah. Somebody spoke back to me? Somebody checked my opinion? I don't understand this. This is new to me.
Yeah, it's just interesting, you know, that I think you don't see people like that very often. That are, you know, I think Jeff Lewis is right that kind of person probably runs a really good company and really good business because he's a dick. He
has a very aggressive alpha male personality.
Yeah, it's my way or the highway.
And that works in the business. The business model works with that personality.
Yeah, I would totally agree. So it was just interesting to see him sit back and go, oh, and even during the show, he was saying things like, well, Jeff Lewis is being a hypocrite. He's saying this, this, and this. And Jeff Lewis is like, listen, you're right. I've done it. And I've acted that way. I'm just trying to save you some fucking pain, dude.
Right.
I mean, I just couldn't believe that he couldn't say, he couldn't realize he was saying, I am trying to help you not lose your gorgeous goddamn wife or lose an important friendship down the road or something.
It really made me, at times I really thought, this is what he would say to his son. This is a father-son moment here. Hey, kiddo.
That's a good point.
I ruined my life doing this. Or I had a really unnecessary hard portion of my life because I acted a certain way. I care about you enough. I don't want you to have to go through such a hard time in your life. So learn from my mistakes. I mean, basically, that's what it was.
Sure.
That was a father-son moment. Yeah. All right, so we're talking about feelings, emotions, all this different stuff, and we talked about the primal scream, but it's 9/11.
Yep.
And so I kind of want to...
So where were you? Where were you? What were you doing?
I know. Okay.
Let's just do that. We'll both do that.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Joe Pesci is in the room.
Right. And that's why you don't go through the drive-thru. I was getting ready to go to a class at the university, and I remember driving my Jeep Grand Cherokee, that white boxy bastard that you hated. I was driving that on the interstate to Iowa City, and I heard on the radio a plane had hit the World Trade Center, and I thought it was a really small, like 3-seater.
I think they actually put that out there at one point that it was something like that because the hole wasn't super big and nobody had seen it. And so they just assumed that it was a small plane because it didn't blow up like the second one did. It hit the building and crashed into the building and didn't explode everywhere like that crazy one on the second.
So, I remember going to my class, and I remember listening to all the reports all the way in, and I kept thinking, why is this such a big fucking deal? It's an accident. That's terrible. A pilot crashed, and that shit happens all the time. Pilots crashing into shit, or a plane going down in a field. That happens.
Right.
It's terrible. I'm sorry that it happened. That's bad. Because that was my mindset. I didn't realize the magnitude of this. And then by the time I got to my class and I was sitting in my class, I'm like, there's nobody but me and one other person in this class.
The two most clueless people on the campus at the time.
Yeah. Well, then the professor came in and he goes, listen, class is dismissed. We all have better places to be right now. And it still hadn't hit me. The magnitude of what was happening at that moment.
So you were probably in class when the second plane hit.
Yes. So I still didn't understand it. I was still thinking biplane. Well, what's the big deal, right? So it's still big deal.
No. You don't mean biplane.
I'm sorry. It was what?
It's not like a World War II plane. It was like
yeah, but I'm from the grasslands.
A small personal plane kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm from the Midwest. Yeah. I'm thinking like crop dusting.
Midwest.
I'm thinking small plane.
I hear you. I just want to give you shit.
So what did I? Yeah, no, it's all right. Give me shit. At that point, I'm like, well, I'm in Iowa City. I might as well pick up my other car. So I trade in my car. All this stuff is happening in New York, and I'm like, I'm going to trade my Jeep in for this other car.
But you didn't really realize what was happening.
I know, but that will always be branded into my brain. Where was I? What was I doing? What was my train of thought? What was I thinking at this time? Because I didn't realize it was such a big deal. I'm getting a car while this is happening. It didn't hit me until that night. That night when I got home, and I'm like, what? The buildings came down? I can't make sense of this.
Right.
It's just so alien. It was so unrealistic.
And we're not as connected as we didn't have smartphones then. We didn't have any of that shit. So if you heard something on the radio, went to class, and then went and go, well, I got shit to do. I better get my car stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it can very easily now. If it's nowadays, and you're that clueless. I was like, you don't have a Sirius radio, you don't have a smartphone, you don't have your laptop, you don't have some way.
Everybody's iPhones and Samsung phones, all their smartphones would be going off with alerts.
Oh yeah,
and there would be videos playing, right now happening.
Exactly.
But yeah, I can't imagine, the feelings, the fear of when that happened, and people are running out of the area, and firefighters are running into the area. I this is going to sound really dickish. I'm going to preface this statement with, this is going to sound really dickish. I don't mean it to sound dickish, but something that really annoyed me during this time period was when victims as heroes. Okay? I'm not talking about firefighters. I think firefighters that whenever a firefighter responds to a burning building, and they're putting their life in danger, and they're going into this burning building to help people I think they're heroes. Sure. I think those people are heroes.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
But when you're in the back of a plane and you really have no ability to change anything, or if you're one of the people that were in the buildings and the building came down and you died,
right?
You're not a hero, you're a victim.
Why is it such a big deal for you to define that?
I think the government really made a terrible situation into a propaganda slam. Rah, United States.
And that goes right into emotions. I mean, playing off of your emotions, your patriotism, your love of your country, your sadness for people who have passed away. You want to do something, you want revenge. I mean, it really, really played into those things. I agree.
Within a week of this happening, I remember being in a different class. Professor wanted to talk about, what do people think we should do? Should we invade Afghanistan? Should we go after these people? And I remember having the polar opposite feeling of how I feel now, right? But I went off. I was in this class, and she's asking these questions, and I felt like at the time, a stupid, naive child stood up. Because I at this point in my life, I had been in the military and I had gotten out.
Right.
So I'm a little bit older. Not a whole lot older. I mean, I'm in mid-20s.
Right.
But here's this 18-year-old stands up and she says, "Who are we? I'm not going to support our troops because they're nothing but baby rapers." And,
no. Are you serious?
Yeah. She made a really kind of in a way, ignorant statement.
Sure.
Right?
Well, I guess so.
And wow, did I freak out. I stood up and I said, "You know what? I'd really appreciate if you just shut your mouth right now. Obviously, you've never been overseas. You've never been away from your family. Never put your life on the line. You've never been selfless before. And you're judging people who are trying to do a job. They're being ordered to do something, and they don't have a choice. They're going to do what their general or their captain or their lieutenant tells them to do, and that's part of their job. And
also to make generalizations like that.
Right. So I freaked
Soldiers,
out.
human beings make terrible mistakes, and they have in the past in war, but they're not all a certain way.
But my thought back then, because of me being amped up about somebody possibly referring to me as this terrible, terrible soldier,
right?
I lashed out at her and I was like, I'm basically like, "You're stupid, you're ignorant, shut the fuck up. And when you know what the hell you're talking about, then you can speak." And at that point, I wasn't really for going to war, but because I was so amped and so pissed at her for offending something that I was a part of,
right?
I was just like, whatever they decide to do, I'm for it. Whatever they want to do, I'm for it. If they say there's weapons of mass destruction, let's go get them. But now in hindsight, when everybody's able to calm down and take a step back and disconnect emotionally, that you can say, okay, one, there's no evidence of weapons of mass destruction. We should not have gone into Iraq. Done. Period. I'm not even going to argue the point. So all you people that want to leave comments
that
Saddam Hussein is a terrible person, you're right, he was. But
was it worth thousands of American lives and hundreds of thousands of Iraqi lives?
Hey, Ronald Reagan's shaking his hand. We're all buddy with.
That was Rumsfeld.
I'm sorry, Rumsfeld. But we were all buddy with him back in the day, And he was no different back then.
And we weren't upset when he gassed his. We were upset when he gassed the Kurds, but we didn't do anything about it.
Right.
And now they're gassing people in Syria, and we're supposed to be some kind of war, police of the world.
But because emotions have such a strong hold on us,
right?
At the time, we were like, "Fuck yeah!"
And see,
turn right around, hit them, smack them right in the face, right in the nose. You got to retaliate. You got to do something. You can't just pretend be weak.
You can't project weakness.
You can't project weakness. And right now, I mean, we haven't had anything like that since.
Right.
Nothing on the scale of 9/11. Right.
Right.
Oklahoma City bombing before that was pre 9/11.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We've had douchebags try douchey things that are very questionable, like the underwear bomber, the shoe bomber.
Oh, yeah, the Boston bombing.
That was very recent. Boston bombing.
Right.
Right.
But again, it goes back to the emotion part of it. Because, I mean, supposedly the kids that did the bombing in Boston were YouTube watchers of some group of guys overseas that were getting them all jazzed up, getting them all revved up and brainwashed and saying, you need to take, the country that you enjoy needs to suffer and all that kind of stuff, and got them all, got their emotions all riled up. And they weren't, I mean, my grandfather, who was a Methodist minister, he would say to me all the time, we don't think with our hearts, we think with our brains. So yes, you can be upset and somebody can anger you and you can be totally pissed off, but you have got to separate yourself from those emotions because it's hard to think clearly through it. So when 9/11 happened, I had the opposite reaction you did. I wasn't in the same situation as you, but I just think that I had a reaction that was kind of like, I remember waking up. My wife went to work in a new place, and I hadn't found any work yet.
Where were you living at the time?
California.
You were in California.
So she went to work. I hadn't found a job yet. I was in the process of getting some interviews. I heard the radio went off and woke me up, and it was some station. And they said a plane hit the World Trade Center, but they're trying to figure out what's going on, and they're getting people out of the building. And it was such a nonchalant radio thing, But then that, it was more like one of those fun time morning radio shows,
right?
And then after that show ended, it ended as I was waking up. Another one started. It was more of a news radio, and it was like much more serious. And I thought, oh, well, I better see what's going on. We didn't have
better start paying attention to what's going on around the world.
So we didn't have a TV at the time or anything. So the apartment complex we lived in had like a commons area, so to speak. They had a pool and a workout room and a big area with a big TV and couches you could sit around and watch TV. So I thought, well, I'll just go down there and watch and see what's going on. And just as I turn the TV on and sit down to see what's happening, well, boom, is when that second plane hit.
Oh, really? So you saw the second one come in.
Yep. And that was scary because I remember watching it going, what is that? What's going on? Like you could see the plane. I mean, you've seen the picture 1,000 times.
Right.
You can see that plane coming in. So you're watching going, what is happening? And then boom, when that happened, I thought that's when I finally was like, okay, something's on because stuff just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen twice. One plane hitting a building, parts of me,
right.
even if
somebody had a pilot error, maybe the pilot was
right. Even if
injured,
even if the first one hadn't happened, and I watched the second one hit the building, even then I probably would have been like, "Oh, this is fucking horrible! I can't believe that pilot did that." But that there's two of them happening right after each other,
right?
And I think Pentagon was not long after that. I was like, "Oh fuck!" Somebody, and I think almost right away they had some. Didn't Al Qaeda or Osama bin Laden put a comment out right away that they had done that to us because of this, and this, and they released a statement of some kind. And that's how we knew it was them right away.
There's been so much that has been put out since then. I really can't remember, but this is kind of an interesting fact. It's interesting to me. The day before that, Rumsfeld is given a press conference saying that billions of dollars vanished. Nobody knows where it went. Nobody is held accountable for it.
Well, I thought that was during the war that they had pallets and pallets of cash.
No, that happened too. But the day before, you look this up, September 10th, Rumsfeld has a press conference about how the government has lost billions of dollars. Billions I'll look it up right now if you want to keep talking.
All right. Anyways, so I watched the show. I want to make sure that I have my facts straight. So I hear some of the comments about things, and I decide to send an email, kind of in my grandfather's vein of things. You know, he's a pacifist, was a big Martin Luther King fan, a big fan of Gandhi. A lot of those things, really thought that, you know, anti-violence was the key to changing the world. So I guess I pretty much feel the same way, but I thought I knew what I was doing, and I penned an email to every single person in my Hotmail account, because I used to have Hotmail, and said we need to take a step back, take a deep breath. Let's make sure that we show the world our strength by showing the world the strength by not retaliating. Retaliating is the easiest, most gut reaction anybody can do. Anybody can punch somebody back. Anybody can throw down if they want to. It's somebody who has the strength to say, you know what? I'm not a fucking barbarian who slams planes into buildings and kills people. I'm not an asshole that runs into a house a house in Iraq and blows myself up. That's not what I do. You know, we don't torture people. You know, we're different than that. We do things different. We're Americans. We have a higher standard.
It's amazing that we could, at that point, actually say that type of thing. Hey, we don't do the same things that other countries do. We can't say that anymore. We cannot say that we are on the moral high ground of anybody anymore.
Yeah.
Because some of the fucked up enhanced interrogation tactics. I found the 2.3. You know what? I fucked up the number. It wasn't billion. 2.3 trillion dollars missing from the Pentagon.
Like their budget?
I got the video. I'm gonna, as soon as I plug these cables in, I'll play the video for you. It's only 3 minutes and 9 seconds long, so bear with us. Todd will keep talking. I'll get this ready to go.
Anyways, so I just thought it was interesting that I had a different reaction. Now, at the same time, if I had had somebody stand up with me and say, oh, great, don't send all those fucking, jarheads in there. They're just a bunch of assholes that don't know what the fuck they're doing. I would have said something as well, because I have plenty of family in the military and have had, lots of friends in the military, and that would really, really bother me. So I didn't have anybody who's like hitting my emotional buttons right on the head, So, I mean, this is kind of a different situation. But I did have a different reaction, because I really thought, man, when shit like this happens, we have got to be able to stand back and take a deep breath and go, okay, what's the best course of action? Because I remember when they started bombing Afghanistan after it happened, right? We hadn't even gone to Afghanistan yet. We just started bombing them. There were no troops in the area, nothing, right?
Shock and awe, baby. Shock and awe.
Well, shock and awe was for Iraq. It wasn't for Afghanistan.
No, it was Afghanistan. They were leveling mountains.
Right.
Mountains were disappearing when they dropped their daisy cutter bombs.
I remember seeing an interview on CNN with this guy saying, listen, I'm glad that they're over here and they're trying to take out Al-Qaeda, because they have ruined my life and ruined lots of Afghani lives. But guess what? I'm heading over to a friend's house, and I'm going to help him bury his wife and his kids because a stray bomb hit the house. And so here we were supposed to be helping and taking out people, the bad guys, so to speak, and yet we still didn't, kind of fulfill that promise of, helping take back the country and taking care of people, things like that.
Well, I mean, when they talk about, you've heard that before in movies and television shows and from your history teacher, for God's sakes. If you can't learn from your past, you don't have any success. You don't have any hope to not repeat those mistakes in the future.
Right.
And when you see these things and you forget about them so quickly, how the fuck are you supposed to learn from it? Right? All right. So I found this. This is from CBS News. It's going to talk about what Rumsfeld says about wasteful spending, but you got to let it run for a little bit, and then he'll talk about $2 trillion is unaccounted for. So let's see how this plays out.
The day before 9/11, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld declared war, not on foreign terrorists.
The adversary is closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy.
He said money wasted by the military poses a serious threat.
In fact, it could be said that it's a matter of life and death.
Rumsfeld promised change, but the next day, the world changed. And in the rush to fund the war on terrorism, the war on waste seems to have been forgotten.
My 03 budget calls for more than $48 billion in new defense spending.
More money for the Pentagon when its own auditors admit the military cannot account for 25% of what it already spends.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
2.3 trillion with a T. That's $8,000 for every man, woman, and child in America. To understand how the Pentagon can lose track of trillions, consider the case of one military accountant who tried to find out what happened to a mere $300 million.
We know it's gone, but we don't know what they spent it on.
Jim Minery, a former Marine turned whistleblower, is risking his job by speaking out for the first time about the millions he noticed were missing from one defense agency's balance sheets. Minery tried to follow the money trail, even crisscrossing the country looking for records.
The director looked at me and he says, "Why do you care about this stuff?" It took me aback, you know. My supervisor asked me why I care about doing a good job. So
he was reassigned and says officials then covered up the problem by just writing it off.
They got to cover it up. That's where the corruption comes in.
You know, when you talk about emotions and 9/11 and all this stuff happening, the fact that those buildings went down that day, to me, is only a sliver of the whole corrupt pie that damaged us that day. As an American, well, it's just as a human being, you know, people died that day. We all rallied as Americans. There was people all around the world that were rallying for us,
sure,
wanting to support us. But then the 9/11 Commission puts together their report, and it blows. It sucks. There's so many people that came up and said, "Hey, I was an eyewitness. I was right there. I was a police officer, or I was a firefighter. I was right there. This is what I saw. This is what I heard." Nope, that's okay. We're done. This is the official report.
Oh, right.
You know, hey, you haven't asked everybody. Your investigation really sucks, you know? So then you start to lose a little bit of...
Well, especially when you know that they're investigating to find answers to what they already think is happening. So they don't take the information and they go, "Oh, you know what? This information means we should look over here. Well, and if we find this, we should probably look over here as well." It's like, we think it's probably going to be this way. So let's find the information that backs up the way that we want this to go. I mean, that's kind of how those government things go. You know, they don't go, "What happened? Let's find what happened and let's follow that trail." It's kind of like, well, we're pretty sure it's these guys who did this. So let's find the information that backs up that idea. I mean, that's kind of how it works.
Well, I think it was just a big, at some point, it's like, let's in the words of my old boss, he used to love to say this all the time, and it really frustrated me because he was such a douche about it. He would say, "Hey, don't focus on that. Don't focus on the hard things. Focus on the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit. That's a business model. That's a stratagem. A stratagem? Strategy? Stratagem?
I think it's a strategy. It sounds cool, though.
Of business. You know what? We're not going to try real hard. We're not going to get that stuff that should be dealt with. We're not going to deal with that. What we are going to deal with is the easy shit. Let's focus on the easy stuff in a way that makes sense." But September 10th, 2011, Rumsfeld is saying $2.3 trillion is unaccounted for. You know what? Our country, as of 2013, still sucks. The economics of our country still suck. The trust, another emotion, towards our banking system
or a government
totally sucks. I don't trust the bankers. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the Senate or Congress to do what is in my best interest. When you see things like this, a lot of people, like yourself, either didn't see it or they forgot that Rumsfeld says right before 9/11, we really need to take a closer look at our defense contractors and things like that, how much money we're spending in defense, because $2.3 trillion can't be accounted for.
But they also played the clip of Bush saying we're increasing our budget by $50
after
million.
9/11.
That was after 9/11?
Yeah. After 9/11, Bush comes out with this with the new budget, and all this money is going into defense.
Oh, and Rumsfeld before that said we need to take a look at it because we're missing.
Yeah, and before 9/11, I'm sure I don't have any facts. My gut feeling is that was going to come out anyway. So Rumsfeld preemptively came out and said, "Hey, I don't really want to admit this, American citizens, but we can't account for 2.3 trillion fucking dollars." And like CBS News, that thing said, that's $8,000 for every man, woman, and child in the United States to pony up.
Right. Well, and what I also don't like about the fact, besides,
and I mean, have you heard anything about that since? Have you heard of any ongoing investigation? No, but they'll bust weed growers.
Right.
They'll bust people smoking weed. They'll bust the drug dealer on the corner. I could give a fuck less. How about we focus on building trust back up?
Right.
And cover down on these horrendous crimes.
We can still take care of the drug dealer on the corner if they're doing something illegal.
That's low-hanging fruit.
But we can also say somebody is doing something criminal. If there's $2.3 trillion missing, somebody's got to be doing something criminal.
Dude, do you remember that guy? Do you remember the guy in California? It was like in the 70s or early 80s who parachuted out of a jet. He had robbed a bank. And then and then he went up in a plane and parachuted out.
You sure it wasn't Point Break with Patrick Swayze?
No, it wasn't Point Break with Fred. I did love that movie back in the day.
I love that movie.
No, it wasn't that movie though. God damn it! Yeah, Google that shit. Guy jumps in, and it was an FBI case, and it was notorious because he got away with it. He was one of those bank robbers that got away with it, and he got away with millions of dollars. Well, here is a case where somebody got away with $2.3 trillion fucking dollars. That's just one thing. Right. And then as soon as we went into Iraq and there's palletfuls of American cash, US dollars, on pallets, and they come up missing, you got to be fucking shitting me.
Well, I guess I don't like the idea of do as we tell you to do, not as we do. You better balance your goddamn checkbook. You better not bounce any checks or we're going to put you in jail. You better keep your shit in order, all your finances. You better live your life the right way. Or there's going to be consequences for you. Yeah. And yet we're going to keep writing bad checks over and over and over again. We're going to keep taking your money as well. We get to keep taking your money and writing bad checks and borrowing money from things.
Not only money, but we're going to remove jobs from the homeland, and we're going to send them overseas or
give
down
corporations
to
tax breaks. We're going to send jobs overseas. So you're screwing American workers. You're still taking our taxes. You're losing our money. Think about we would not have to pay taxes for a couple of years in a row just in the amount of money that they're lost track of in the Pentagon. I wouldn't have to pay taxes for 2 years.
That'd be pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's just one thing. That's just the Pentagon for that one year, probably.
Right.
So, that's the infuriating part. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. And you have consequences. I don't.
Right.
That's the hard part. We have insider trading as congressmen. I can be on the Banking and Finance Committee, and I can leave the Banking and Finance Committee when I found out a company is going live tomorrow and buy a shitload of the stock, and that's completely legal. You do it, I'm going to come put you in handcuffs and throw you in jail.
Yeah.
It's just the contradiction is so crazy.
You didn't bring up the Martha Stewart thing, did you?
I didn't. I just assumed that was part of it.
Yeah. Well, Martha Stewart, she does insider trading. And up until this point, when Martha Stewart got, when she was found guilty and she went to prison, to jail for this, up until that point, I was like, yeah, duh, fuck insider trading. Can't do that shit. I saw Trading Places.
Right. I suppose, have you heard all the stories that somebody who loved that movie as a kid became a business financier kind of guy and was so bummed to find out how what happened didn't really work and couldn't really work. They bought one thing and sold another thing in a way that, you couldn't do that supposedly.
So what you're telling me is that a movie was not actually based. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
My whole world just came
went
to a screeching halt. What were we talking about? Distrust. Oh,
government distrust.
I mean, yeah, we all know that insider trading is bad. Martha Stewart, bam, slap on the wrist. She goes to prison or she goes to jail, right? But it is legal for congressmen and senators to do insider trading.
Right.
What the hell is that all about? I mean, if you can't find a more black and white example of do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. And 50% of people who are in Congress are millionaires. Over half of people in Congress are millionaires. They're pretty wealthy people because if they have, even if you took the literal insider trading out of the deal, then you still have millionaires. You still have people that have an inside access to things that nobody else does. You know, I know people who give thousands and thousands of dollars to people on both sides of the aisle to make sure shit goes the way they want it to go.
Yeah. And I mean,
you know?
again, 9/11, we're talking about emotions, all different types of emotions. And right now we're talking about distrust. But you know what was a really powerful thing? During this time period, some of the things that were really hot, really popular during this time, well, one of them was the Dixie Chicks. The Dixie Chicks could do no wrong during this time period. Up until 9/11, they were on top of the world, man. Everybody wanted their CDs. Lead singer's hot. 3 beautiful women rocking it. Country music.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wanted their music. And then, because of this huge emotional response from the country, who was it? The lead singer of the Dixie Chicks comes out on stage one day at a concert and she goes, President Bush, you should be ashamed of yourself, for doing what you're doing, calling and being a Texan. And she got booed, and that was it. Career ender. She was done.
What did she say? She said we're ashamed of our president, or we're sorry about our president.
We're ashamed that he's from Texas.
Or I think we're ashamed he's our president. I think it was about him being a president.
Now I'm gonna have to look up Dixie Chick and what did she say? Please. Are you looking it up?
No, you can look it up. Anyways, I think that again, emotion is such an enormous part of all this. We're getting upset, and the logic part of me says we need to stop getting so pissed off and upset and actually do something. So whether we run for Congress or we back somebody and, promote somebody who follows the ideals that we like to get them into Congress to change things. But it seems like that place is like a fucking black hole. I mean, my thought is that my representatives right now that are in my state, they're pretty good guys, but I don't know what their finances are like. I don't know who's backing them. They're on my side. They're helping my state, but I'm just like, I'm not sure, if they're being straightforward because they're all so fucking corrupt.
You know what I actually appreciated the other day? I got a phone call and survey. I'm like, damn it. Normally I just hang up. Normally I'm just like, if I say hello and you don't respond immediately, like boom, right now. Oh, hey, Matt, how you doing? If you're not right on it,
right,
I hang up. But I stayed on the line, and it was from my congressman, and it was a recording, which is fine. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But the recording was, how do you feel about invading Syria? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no, type of a thing. And here's the thing.
I didn't answer last night. I bet you it was the same thing.
I really, really appreciated this because there's no clearer response from that we can do as American citizens. Maybe we can't all get out and vote at voting booths, right, for whatever reason. Maybe it just didn't happen. But, I mean, we get spam all the time. I mean, we get shitty cold calls all the time. Why shouldn't that happen more? Hey, right, there's a bill in Congress that says this. It's not 11,000 pages long, so I can actually describe it to you.
Yeah. Well, Herman Cain's only good idea was have a bill be
3 pages long. Yeah.
Is that front and back? Double space?
That would be okay. front and back, double space all you want. Triple space that son of a bitch. That's fine. But yeah, I appreciated that because it made me feel like for the first time, somebody might actually listen to what we all have to say. You know? And so it bolstered my feeling of what could be happening in politics right now. Because I don't think that's a normal thing. That's the first that's ever happened to me. There's so many things that our politicians are voting on or not voting on for whatever stupid damn reason.
Right.
That if I was getting phone calls, I could take a phone call once a night. Give it to me. Hey, this is your representative. This is the bill. This is what's going to happen. This is how it could affect you. Okay. Thanks. I'm a lot more informed about it than I ever would be.
Sure.
Because that fucking Patriot Act was passed without me reading a single page or hearing one fucking thing about it.
And I think that, and the hard part too is because it seems like politicians are beholden to corporations or large groups, it seems like they don't do it on our behalf as constituents. Because if I'm a Democrat, which I am, and I had all my constituents, if I had, hey, listen, I'm going to have my open phone lines into my office tonight. I want your opinions. I go on the news. I air it out all over the place. I want you to tell me what you think. I'm going to do what you want me to do. And even if it swung conservative or swung Republican and more people said, I want you to do this instead of that, I would, as a politician or a representative that was sent to Congress for my constituents, would have to vote for what they want. You know what I mean? I guess people could say, well, you didn't poll every single person in your area, so how can you make an honest decision? Well, guess what? I told everybody, if you wanted to go one way or another, you need to fucking call me and tell me what you want to do, because I'm going to do what you'd like me to do. And it's such a big deal, whether it's like going to war at Syria or it's, budget cutting or whatever it is that everybody's so hyped up about these days. I want you to tell me what to do. And so if you didn't call me and tell me what you want to do, then bad on you, not on me. I went there and said, listen, I don't agree with this, but guess what? The people in my area, in my district, want this to happen. So I'm voting yes on whatever. It could even be against my own conscience, but I'd have to represent the people who asked me to be there.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just part of their job.
Correct.
And that's what I have a problem with. Are you representing people? Because they say one of the reasons that Obama backed off with the Syria thing is the fucking people were like, we are not doing this. Polls are like 62.
Did? I haven't seen anything recently. 62. I haven't even looked at it.
All I've been looking
at is this podcast.
62 to 30. I think it was like 62 to 28%. Were like, no, we are not. Every poll was saying,
back the fuck off.
Every poll was like, absolutely not. Yeah. And so they said then he decided to go to Congress, and Congress said, we're not sure yet. And then Russia stepped in and said, we might be able to help out gain those arms back from Syria. And so Obama was able to step back and go, and last night when he spoke, he said, there is an imminent threat to us. Syria is not going to attack us. So there isn't an imminent threat to America. So maybe we need to back off a little bit. So I appreciate him being honest with things. He could have fucking ran, dude. If it had been, I can't say that. I'm not going to say it if it would have been George W. Bush. But, the smoking gun's going to be a mushroom cloud. Fuck, that scared me. And I thought he was full of shit, and it scared me. You know what I'm saying? So he could have easily ramped up the idea of going to war. Israel's over there and Iran, and the next thing, could get bigger. If we take care of the small thing now, it might take care of a bigger thing later. I can see all the reasoning that people to get you to go to war.
Right.
And he didn't do that.
Well, you know what he didn't have? He didn't have two buildings that crumbled to the ground.
True.
He didn't have a Pentagon with a big hole in it.
He does have the Constitution, though, which I'm glad he started listening to and went to Congress about. That really bothered me.
By the way, I looked up the whole Dixie chick thing. The comment that they made was, we're ashamed that our president is from Texas. They said that at a concert, and that snowballed into them being asked on talk shows and different things, their political opinions. Oh. And then the response to that was, shut up and sing.
Interesting.
Shut up and sing. And there was people rallying and saying, try the chicks for treason.
Try the chicks for treason.
Right. That's
fucking free speech. I just can't. I don't like free speech unless it's speech that I like to hear. Just so you know. So when you start talking things that I don't like, I'm gonna tell you, shut the fuck up, and I'm gonna pull your plug on your headset so you can't hear yourself, and then you start talking way far away and nobody can hear what you're saying. Okay, it's just so crazy. I don't like hearing neo-Nazis talk either. Okay, but they have a right to say whatever the fuck they want to say. There's a rally at the college every single year. I thought for a second you were going to call your Tom the Dixie Chick. Hey, motherfucker. No, there's a rally every year at the college near us. And they're not these neo-Nazi KKK dudes are allowed to go out there and talk. You know, people just stare at them are like, what the fuck? You know, you're so full of hate. Where'd all this hate come from? You know, but people don't get upset and angry. Well, I don't know that. Maybe people do. I haven't heard about anybody like protesting or people getting beat up or anything like that. It's kind of like, hey, you know, they have a reason that they can say whatever the fuck they want to say.
I think there's a reason why people are so built up with hate and anger and all this stuff, because there's a lot to go around. I mean, there's just a cesspool of shit out there, and it's shoved in your face every day through the media, newspapers, YouTube. You have smartphones. I mean, you're constantly bombarded with news. Right. And that news is not, hey, by the way, we got a shit ton of money today from one of our closest allies because, hey, we're swell. I mean, we don't get good news. We don't hear awesome things on the majority. The majority of the news is, by the way, Zimmerman killed a man. And we're gonna show pictures of him as a 9-year-old child, even though he was nowhere near 9. We're going to try to infuriate the masses. Right. Because, oh yeah, by the way, just happenstance, right now, we're trying to really change some gun laws.
And now now he threatened his wife with a gun. You hear about that?
No, I didn't.
So he was arrested again.
God damn it.
For threatening his wife with a lethal weapon because she's divorcing him. And so, again, I don't know what's happening, but of course, that's all I hear is that he threatened his wife with a gun. There was an altercation. And so your first thought is like, here's Zimmerman with a gun again. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
that's not my first thought. My first thought is, this is some bullshit. One, I can't blame a woman for saying, dude, you are what you did, whether I agree with it or not, is this subject, this topic. There's so many people that hate you, whether you were right or wrong. I'm not going to say you were right or wrong. But because of what you did and because of how it was portrayed in the media, so many people hate you and in turn hate me for being with you. I can't handle it anymore. I'm out of here. Now, that all could be 100% true. Everything that I just said could be 100% spot on why she would want to get a divorce. I can also think 100% spot on. Well, should I make this claim? Should I say I'd bet my house on it?
I wouldn't.
All right, I won't. But I can see it I can see a very high probability of somebody saying, you know what would sell newspapers? You know what would be really sensational? If we say he threatened her with a gun. Right. Yeah. How the fuck do you know? Until she gets up in the news and does an interview with somebody and says, he waved the gun in my face and said, I'll fucking shoot you if you leave me. Okay. All right. I got it from the horse's mouth. But if the horse ain't saying it, shut the fuck up, because you probably don't know.
Well, and I think that's why
I don't want to spread that. I don't want to spread Zimmerman threatened her with a gun.
Right. I mean, that's my problem with it, though, because I still disagree with how things were handled, and I thought it was inappropriate that he shot this kid. But I don't like the idea that it was portrayed a certain way in the media, and then the first thing that came out, it wasn't like Zimmerman was arrested today for...
The first thing that came out was, hey, George Zimmerman was released today, and... No, he saved somebody from a burning car. That actually did come out.
Right.
He's a hero.
Right. That's what I'm saying is that I didn't hear any. All I heard was Zimmerman and a gun again. I mean, that's pretty much what I took from it.
Right.
So now he's back. He's back doing his old things again. I mean, that was my first feeling about it. And I'm a.
And that's like me with the Kardashians. Oh, here's a bitch with tits and ass again. That's why she's making a shitload of money, because she's showing off her body. I mean, she
made a great movie, dude.
That's my initial response. Is that true? No, that's my gut, internal, primal reaction. Why are you even famous in the first place? A porn flick, you know? So anyway, Hey, again, I don't want to go too far down. I don't want to get into that stuff. Again, on 9/11, something that has happened recently within the last year or two, that was a very positive thing. It actually really encouraged me that not everyone's an asshole who has money. And that's Jon Stewart. And Jon Stewart's clout and what he has done for the firefighters and the EMS workers and the volunteers that worked on Ground Zero to help look for people and look for bodies and clear away debris.
And they're dying.
And they're dying of cancer, and Congress was dragging their feet. And Jon Stewart, I mean, he talk about playing on people's emotions, but he did not let that die.
No.
He did not let it die. He didn't let Congress get away with it. You know, here's the topic. It's up for vote right now. It's really important. Congress, you're going to act like, you know, you can't deal with this right now. But I'm going to have a TV special. My show tonight, I'm going to have EMS and firefighters on who were there, who are currently dying of cancer. And because you guys can't pass a fucking bill and say yay on a goddamn ballot, these people probably are going to die without treatment. And there was nothing funny about that show.
Nothing.
Night. He's a comedian. He puts out a comedic show, The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. There was nothing funny about that show that night. But what he did, the emotion that he gave out, that he let everybody see, was that I fucking appreciate what you did. And I really fucking care about you. I don't know you personally, but I care about you because of what you were willing to sacrifice to help people.
Right.
Holy God. How often does that happen?
I didn't take it as he was playing on my emotions to have that happen. He was like putting it was like, you know, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth kind of thing. It was one of those like, here you go. Here's the raw meat right in front of you. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not going to laugh and joke around about it. I'm going to tell you what is happening. But these people right here,
I know, but
sacrificed for you.
The bill got voted in the next day.
I'm just
because
saying,
of emotions. Because
you don't think it was the impact of him saying, "Here's the logic.
The impact is the emotion. There was no logic in it at all. The only logical thing is, here's people that helped other people, and you should help them. That's the only logical thing there is. That's it.
Well, but I think they sacrificed.
The emotion is, we're bringing in 9/11. We're bringing in, it was a hugely emotional day. Everybody rallied around it. Everybody thought you were heroes. And then they forgot about you. And there's guilt. And there's hope.
Okay.
And there's all these emotions that he masterfully put together. And I'm not saying he tried to manipulate us.
No,
I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that show was not based around comedy, but it was about a point. He was trying to drive home a point, and he got it home, and it was based on emotion. When people watched that, I had an emotional response for those people. I felt so badly for those people that our government was basically just saying fuck off and die.
Maybe I'm thinking, I'm not disagreeing with you, because that makes sense.
Because I will reach across this table. That's why. I guess
I'm thinking more of the fact that...
You see that look in my eye.
I liked it that it was just kind of like, here are the facts. Here's what they did. Here's what they're not doing to help them. Something has to happen. And that was more of like, to me, I was like, I had no idea that the people who went down there and were trying to help the whole time are now dying and not being allowed to be taken care of, or not getting money to be able to take care of. To me, it was more of like a logical thing, because I do really try to remove the emotion from things so I can think through things. I can't think clearly if I'm fucking pissed, or if I'm upset and I'm crying, or if I'm angry or jealous. And I can't reason very well.
Right.
And I think that's one reason why I do like him, is that I was able to sit back and go, holy shit. It wasn't me going, what? These people did all these things and we're not being treated very well. It was more, and not to say that wasn't trying to make voices and mock you. I was thinking,
I didn't think you were.
Okay, good. But
was I giving you a look?
No, it hit me when I said it. So, but it's more of me going, oh, I didn't even know, and it was, so I guess I was upset that they weren't being treated very well, but it wasn't like I was going, hey, what the hell's going on around here? You guys, take care of these people. It was more of like, It seems like a very cut and clear idea. They sacrifice themselves to go down and see if they can help people. You're not being helped, and the government is inhibiting them from being helped. All you need to do is sit down, fucking knock this thing out. They can get help. We can move on with our lives. You can stop being douchebags. It didn't have a lot of other emotion involved in it, but I'm sure it was underlying without me even thinking about it, and it probably was because it makes sense from what you said. But I like Jon Stewart because he is that logical. He puts things in a way where I go, what the fuck? You know, and it hits home because it's so straightforward and simple of an idea. Whether he dumbs it down for me, probably, it probably needs to be watered down just a tad, brought down to my level. But I do think that that's what he does. It makes me go, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Because there have been plenty of times when I've thought a certain way about something, and then he swings me back another way. And I'm going, oh, God. Even stuff he does about Obama, talking about all, Obama was interviewed talking about Darfur. We cannot go in. We can't go in and do things like that. We are not interventionalists. We can't intervention.
You know what? Whoever's listening, all you people that are listening, just pretend that you heard the smartest fucking word you've ever heard, and it described it perfectly. We cannot intervene.
Intervene. But I'm trying to think. We can't be interventionist.
You know what? The more you
say it, the more
it's just gonna
worse. Yeah. All right. So we can't intervene in those. We can't intervene in those kind of things. It's not a thing for America.
Plausible. We can't do it.
So then you turn around and we have the opposite. And I have so many people at my job who are both conservative and Republicans, right? And people get pissed off. They're like, so I mean, sometimes it's just because Obama said, we should go into Syria, and now we're not. And then other people who are pissed off because Russia, so it looks like Russia is coming in to help us out, and why would we ever let Russia and Putin do that? Which to me is just so fucking ego. I cannot stand it. If that douchebag, and I think Putin's a douchebag, if he's able to stop us from going to war because Obama stepped in his own shit, then let him take care of it. What's the?
I'll give you a high five, even though I think you're a douche. You made a good play on that last play.
Exactly.
You're a bench warmer the majority of the time, or you trip on over your shoelaces on the field. But that play,
exactly,
you made the winning block.
Why can't you give
Putin.
Somebody something?
That's my football reference.
That was fantastic.
You like that?
It was horrible, but I know what you're trying to do. But but you're right.
Thank you very much.
You're absolutely right. Why can't we not just say, you know what? They helped us out. Why can't we say they helped us out? Are we that? I mean, are we so?
Yes, we are. We are that.
It's almost like you're like egotistical.
Egotistical.
You said testicle. You didn't say testicle.
You heard testicle because I don't know. You haven't even been drinking.
Not this time.
God, there was something else I wanted to say. God dang it!
Sorry.
What was it?
No.
Well, shit. You went into this whole testicle thing and just shot. You just shot the vibe right out of the air.
We get very egotistical.
Okay.
Right? Our egos are so, I mean, it's almost like an insecure kid.
Oh, dude, what about Rodman? What about Rodman going to China? Is it China?
No,
right?
It was North Korea.
Oh, Jesus, I'm stupid. All right. No, it's all right. As long as there's somebody there to hold my hand or to just be my mental guardrail, I appreciate it. So he went into North Korea, and when he comes back, he's like, I got a message. Barack Obama, you want something to happen, you come talk to me. What? But again, there's my ego. If the guy from North Korea
loves Rodman,
and he can make the winning play,
right?
If he can be that guy who makes the winning pass, and Barack Obama can slam dunk that ball,
right?
Hey, good job, Dennis Rodman. Fucking let's do it. Use any tool that you can for diplomatic.
Yeah. No, I mean, why not?
Why not?
Part of it too is you might want to give him some credit since you can't get your asses in there to do anything anyways. You can't do it. So some guy working on his fame and his popularity with this little nutbag, right?
Yeah.
Gets in the door. I mean, Vice's thing on them was freaking. That whole thing on Vice was astounding.
How there's little North Korea and Russia.
No, it wasn't. The one that I thought was amazing was they built. Was it a built? They built a city
Yeah, in Russia, in Siberia.
No. You're thinking about something else totally different than what I'm talking about.
But
at the Vice thing in North Korea, they have a city.
Okay.
Oh, you know what?
It's the same fucking thing.
No, I think I'm messing up because I think it was actually China because I think it's the Chinese government or it might be North Korea. Either one. I can't remember which one it is.
You know what? How about this? I think you're beautiful. You're super smart. Once you untangle your fucking brain.
Either way, they built an entire city with like monuments and buildings and stuff, and it's completely empty. And people go there to get pictures taken because it's so beautiful and great, but nobody lives there.
They didn't model that around the United States, did they? That's their
like
own
Vegas, you mean? I fucking hate Las Vegas.
No, I don't think they built it around. No, I guess not. Never mind. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me ask you this: when you're talking about Putin, what exactly gives us the authority, the moral compass to say, deadly gases, you can't own those. Oh, nuclear bombs, you can't own those. Iran, you can't have a nuclear power plant. What gives us the right to say those fucking things? You know, all these other countries have them.
Yeah.
All these other countries have nuclear bombs. And we're not up their ass. And why is that? Because they have nuclear fucking bombs. We cannot push around a country that has nuclear fucking bombs. We can't push them around. So you have to have some type of diplomatic conversations about what's going to happen. Hey, I really would rather you not do that because it makes me really uncomfortable. That's what it all comes down to. Hey, it makes me really uncomfortable that you're doing this. Well, it makes me really fucking uncomfortable that you have child soldiers in Darfur and people are raping the shit out of children in Africa because that child doesn't have AIDS and they have some fucking thinking in their head saying that if you rape a child that is clean and doesn't have AIDS, it's going to cure your AIDS.
Right.
That really fucking bothers me too, but we're not doing shit about that.
Right.
You know, we're not telling our military to go into there, fix that shit up. So, I mean, why do we think it's our job to go somewhere and say, hey, that gas, that's a bad deal. Yeah, we don't think you're grown up enough. We think of you as like a 7-year-old running around with knives. We're going to take those knives from you. And if we don't, maybe we can talk our buddy into reaching in and talking you out of those knives and running with scissors. And we're going to give you these rounded over scissors.
Children's scissors.
Children's scissors. There, now you're safe. Now you're okay. Now all you have is AK-47s and rocket launchers. Okay, you're good. All right, we're going to leave now. But what gives us the fucking right to do that? I mean, that interview with the guy, the leader of Syria.
Kim Jong-il. Oh, Syria.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought we were still in Korea. Assad.
He's like, you know, when the guy, I think it was a 60-minute interview, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When the guy was like, so.
Oh, no, that was like, it was CBS Good Morning with Charlie Rose where he said, be prepared if you attack us. Anything's possible.
Be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Be prepared for anything. But he also, the guy who was asking the question said, you know, how do you feel about these accusations? And Assad goes, I seem to remember another time where somebody.
Did you watch Jon Stewart when you saw this?
Colin Powell. Yeah.
I recommend everybody go and watch Jon Stewart's YouTube clip or the Daily Show clip of that thing. That was fucking astounding because you know what? You fucking hate this guy because what a cock he is and gassing and killing his own people. And yet you have to sit there and listen to him and go, fuck.
He's got a point.
He's correct.
Not only does he have one point, he has many points.
Yeah.
Many fucking points. And I think at some point we all have to do another thing with emotions, and that's check our ego. We have to check ourselves and be like, you know what? Even though we have a big dick, we don't have a right to go swing it around other countries. We just don't have a right to do that.
I agree.
And if we hold so valuable the right of freedom of religion in this country, why does that all of a sudden disappear, that idea, when you consider other countries who have other religions, and those religions do not jive with America and Christianity. You know, if a Muslim or if the Taliban, if they follow a religion that says their women are going to wear burqas, their women are going to stay in their homes, this is our religion, this is the way we live our lives, leave us the fuck alone. Why is it that when you're in America, you're supposed to say, okay, that's your right. It's freedom of religion. You can do what you want. That's your religion. But as soon as you cross the border from America and you look out at the world, you're like, nope, I can judge you. I can judge that. That ain't right. Well, North Korea.
You think religion plays into that? Right. I'm like, oh, you're not a Christian religion. You're not a Christian country, or a Christian-based country. So I can judge you harshly because you're following this other religion that I don't agree with. Do you think it's part of that? It's got to be a piece that plays into it.
Yeah, I think Christianity is hugely to blame for that. Am I saying that it's right or wrong? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if we're going to hold a value in the United States of freedom of religion, and we're going to say that that's an important fucking thing that makes America great, fine. Why can't we just apply that to other countries and be like, well, that's the way they believe. I really don't agree with it.
Right.
But I have no fucking right to step in and go, I don't like how you're treating your women.
Right.
We're going to go to war.
Or the idea, it's like,
we're going to liberate all you ladies. We're going to liberate all you people. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
That dictator, that guy there, he surely sucks. I mean, now in hindsight, doing that Monday morning quarterbacking thing, you look back and you're like, Saddam Hussein, he was a fucker. He was a pretty evil fucking dude.
Right.
But he was so diabolical. He kept all those countries around him in check.
Right.
He kept all those warlords shaking in their boots, and they didn't do anything because he was such a mean fucker.
Right.
He kept everybody in tow. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like we went in, and people will say, well, Saddam Hussein, he was a terrible motherfucker. We should have killed him anyway, right? Don't you agree with that? Gut feeling? Yeah. Now hindsight? No. Maybe they needed that mean son of a bitch to keep all these warlords in check.
Right.
And all these other countries in check. You remove that big badass, and all of a sudden people are like, well, America's kind of strung out.
Yeah. Or I'm the badass now.
Yeah.
I'm taking over. But you can't do anything about
There's
it.
a gap.
There's a gap.
Somebody's got to fill that vacuum.
Mm-hmm. And Al-Qaeda was filling that vacuum in Iraq until they had, started fighting back. We went in and started paying warlords to side with us to fight back on their behalf. So people we were fighting and bombing to begin with, we then befriended and got them to help take back the country. But it really took them to be invested for it to work, which is the whole point in the beginning. You can't bomb fucking people and say, hey, I know I fucking blew shit up, but hey, can you help us out now? That doesn't work very well.
Right. This whole podcast talking about 9/11, our first podcast talking about Labor Day. I don't know if this is going to be a theme or are we just going to do podcasts on holidays.
It just happens
Jesus
to work
Christ.
out this way.
I guess today's not a holiday. It's just a tragic historical day.
Yeah.
But, if you're going to pull anything from this podcast, think of this. Our emotions are important, right? They are going to guide you one way or another. But you have to use your brain. Your brain has to check your emotions. And you want to be primal, and you want to scream, and you want to react. You might want to throw a punch. You might want to call a bitch. Use your brain.
Well, and I think we talked about that earlier today where I said, going back to Jeff Lewis and that guy who was acting like an asshole, and he made some comment in the show, don't touch my shit or I'm going to knock somebody out. That instantaneously, I have no idea why, even now, my level of
me wanting to hurt you
went from like me sitting watching TV to like, who the fuck do you think you are? I don't know why I extrapolated on what he said. I thought, first of all, my biggest thing was like, that's so horrible. Why would you ever say anything like that to another human being? That's my first feeling. And then I immediately went into my head and was like, if he had fucking said that to me, if he had said that to my face, I at the time, I was just like, my wife's like, what do you mean? What would you do? And I was like, I'm a super calm guy. I can guarantee you that I would be right on the edge to be like, say it to my face again, I'm going to fucking drop you. And I've never done it to anybody in my life. But my reaction was, that is so horrible to treat people like that. But I still have that emotional reaction of like, God, why would you do that? And I have that with adults more than kids can be kids and they make mistakes and they screw up and they're learning.
Sure.
When it comes to adults, I am really, really limited.
You have no wiggle room.
I don't. And I really should.
You should have learned by now.
Somebody should have checked you at some point, and you should know.
Checked you.
You should know deep down inside that that's incorrect. If you really don't know that, I'm going to inform you that's fucking horrible, and you don't talk to people that way. If you do know, you better get your shit together. That's really fucked up.
You know what we should do?
What's up?
We should get T-shirts made that says, "Have you been checked today?" I think it's great. I tell you what, that's trademarked. Primal Scream. If I see any of you fuckers, no, I'm just kidding. You know what? Anybody who listens to this and you like that idea, fucking make some T-shirts up.
That'd be sweet.
I love it.
We don't care.
I want to see that. That'd be great.
We're not in for the money. We're in for the therapy.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, that's a good T-shirt too.
Wow. You're just dropping it like it's hot.
You came with the T-shirt idea, not me.
That's true. I am pretty smart. Hey, you know what? I really enjoyed this podcast today. And if you take anything from it, remember, you have emotions. It's okay. Don't deny it. Don't be ashamed of it. Deal with it. Check it. Let it out in a controlled, positive way.
Be a thinking person.
Be a thinking person.
Yeah.
And if anything, if we can be a thinking person about this whole tragic event that happened on 9/11, 2001, it is, let's please learn from our past. Learn from history. Let's not make mistakes like that again. Let's be that country that we think of back in the day, that we really held up on a pedestal and we said, we have a higher level of humanitarianism. We are going to take care of our own. And then we are going to be an example to the rest of the world. But when we suck at home, we can't be an example to the rest of the world. And I really liked that idea when I was a kid. I really liked the idea of, let's take care of us, and then let's be an example to everybody else. I thought that was pretty fucking awesome. And if you want to be an American that thinks that this country is really fucking awesome again, take that out in the world.
Make it happen. Make it awesome.
Every single person that hears this, every single person that wakes up and you're going to interact with somebody throughout the day, be awesome. Kick ass. Be an amazing American.
Let's do a little Gandhi.
Why'd you have to
be the change? Be the change you want to see in the world.
Okay, I thought you were like to be Indian.
No,
because that's not American.
No, I mean, if you want something to happen, you have to make it happen. You don't wait for everybody else to make it happen. So if you don't see enough love and caring and respect in the world, then you better be 100%. I shouldn't say 100%. We're human beings, but you should be loving and caring and responsible in the world.
Try your best. Try your best.
You can't sit back and go, "Oh man, why are things so bad? This really stuck. How can this keep happening?" You have to stop and say, what part do I play in this?
Right.
You have to do that. Otherwise, it's never going to change. If you don't recognize the things in yourself that you have to change, nothing's going to change. You have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, you're upset you're fat? Stop fucking eating Twinkies at 2:00 in the morning. I'm talking about myself personally.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me because you're looking right at me and I'm like, you are looking into my soul, dude. How did you know that I woke up at 2:00 in the morning last night?
No, I'm just saying that
asshole.
You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, if I want to change something, I have to be the one to change it. Right. And I think emotions can play into that. Make decisions for ourselves to change and do things because we do have an impact in the world, whether it's our thoughts and our ideas and the way we interact with people, we do have an impact. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we
dropping the fat knowledge tonight. You get wrapped up in your emotions. You get wrapped up in, like you said, the drama of things happening, what's going on. And when you get a chance to pause and sit back and contemplate, you're like, oh, fuck. My head is so quiet. I can actually think clearly for a second because I'm not so wrapped up in what he said or she said or he did or she did and all the shit that's going on. You can actually just be silent for a bit and collect yourself.
Right.
It's such a huge thing to turn off all that emotional jabbering in your head. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy how bad that can be. I mean, and I guess I'm obviously speaking from experience. Even now, I'm really stressed out and I take a chance just to sit back and pause and go, why am I really strung out? Why am I so strung out? And I'm like, oh,
Because you don't have any, I'm going to say this.
No.
Because you don't have any fucking time to yourself, dude.
Well, that's part of it. But I mean, more of it is me not taking a chance to step back and go, I really don't have that much stuff going on. I just need to compartmentalize certain things, get these taken care of, and I'll be okay. You just get overwhelmed sometimes. I think everybody does that. But you have to be silent. You have to find a place to sit back and go, wait a second. How do I take care of this problem? I can't sit there and go, fuck. Oh, shit. I got to do this.
You just can't let it build and build and build. Because you know what you need at that point?
Primal Scream.
You need to Primal Scream.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So that's our out. That's our way to get out of this.
That's our way out.
You know what? Hey, everybody, thank you very much for joining us on this Primal Scream episode. Again, I really enjoyed it.
It was awesome. Please go to the website, which is theprimalscream.org. You can tweet us at the Primal Scream at Matt and Todd. That's probably the best way to hear about things. You can hear the podcast on the website. Our Facebook page is the Primal Scream.
It's still under construction. You can still go to the website. You can still listen to these podcasts. You can still make comments on these podcasts.
Please comment.
Yeah, please do. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want ideas. I want suggestions. And if any of you are really tech savvy about building websites, I would love your advice. So you can access all that stuff. You can contact us, send us emails. I really would love to hear some good stuff. And soon you should be able to see links to be able to Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff on our website also. But as of right now, you can go there. You can listen to these podcasts. You can download them to listen to later.
Yeah, please subscribe, follow us, like us, tweet us. Let us know how we're doing. Again, we're new at this and we're trying to learn and get better, but we want to hear what you have to say, and maybe we'll bring it up again because maybe you'll have a really awesome comment that we were like, shit, I didn't think of that, did you? And we can bring it up because if we can share some of your knowledge out there with everybody else, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and we'll do that.
And sometimes we get stuck inside of a bubble. And we would like to hear what you guys want to talk about. What do you guys want to talk about? We'll talk about those things, those ideas, those subjects.
Yeah, throw it out there.
So remember, we're doing this because we need to. We need this. We need this. It's therapeutic. It's our outlet. It is our pressure release valve. We need it.
Yep.
But you know what? You need it.
Yep.
Because you don't do it. A lot of you people out there, you don't do it. So that's what that tagline means in the title of our webpage. We do it because we need it. You need us. You need it. Because you don't do it. Be a thinking primal person.
There you go. Have a little tact.
All right. Have a good night.
Adios.
Bye.